Hello, everyone. Welcome to a in-session edition of
Yes,
From the District.
good morning, Adam. And it's been a
Good
while since we've
morning.
done this, and because we've been busy.
Well, we've been getting ready for this,
Yeah,
getting ready for the session, and we usually only do these once a month, except for right now. During session, we do them every week
yes, we
because,
do.
especially in short session, things go fast. And as folks probably remember, if you are a connoisseur of our videos / podcasts here, we try to make these shorter because we do more of them.
Yes,
In short session, we make them shorter, but there's so
it's,
much going
I know
on.
there's so much going on. I'll tell you, the comment in the elevator, and I was in the elevator several times this week. Let me tell you, is are you sure this day hasn't been 1 month long because of all everything that we have had? And it's been the legislative aides along with the legislators who just cannot believe what is being brought to this session,
Oh, Lord.
the depth and the complexities of the bills that are coming forward, and the speed at which they have to move.
Right. Now, let's remember when short session came about 15 years ago or so. It used to be
Yes.
we'd only meet in the odd number years.
Right.
The trade was, okay, we'll do a session every year, but they all have to be constitutionally capped at a certain length.
Right.
And the even number session is going to be shorter, 35 days, I believe.
It's 35 days. Yeah.
And the purpose of it and the way it was sold to voters to do this is meant to make budget adjustments because you guys wrote a 2-year budget. And so adjustments have to be made as needed, or a tweak. If maybe a policy had some unintended consequences, you could come in and tweak it. It was not meant for big, major debates, right?
Right. Right. Which we haven't gotten into the debates yet, but we have definitely gotten into the motions that are going to maybe tie up some time that we won't have for debate because of requesting legal opinions on some of the motions that have been made and some of the bills that have been brought.
Well, we've already got some controversial stuff to talk about, but we try to make these shorter, just like it's a short session. We try to make these shorter. So let's dive into it. You have 3 bills that you are chief sponsor of that are going to have hearings. Now, people remember, you only get to initiate 2 bills, but you can sign on as chief sponsor to another person's bill that you feel is important, and that's what you've done. Let's start with SB 1561. SB 1561 is going to have a hearing on Tuesday, the 10th at 3 p.m. So let's talk a little bit about SB 1561. You introduced this bill last year, and we didn't get it across the finish line.
Right.
Tell us what it is and where it came from.
It makes sure we can have replacement dwellings in case of a fire or some horrible thing that happens to your house. The reason this came about was because we had a house in Multnomah County, which is, I have the rural part of Multnomah County, burn, and it had been built in 1977. Property taxes had been paid on it from the time it was built. It was in a wooded area. There were some very unfortunate circumstances, which I have talked about in other videos. But this gentleman's daughter and 2 grandchildren were killed in that fire. And so it was awful. It just brought you to tears every time you talked about it. However, because of that happening and wanting to rebuild, clean up the site and go on, they had to, of course, go to the planning for Multnomah County. And they did research on this, and they only found the building permit for the septic and the driveway. Okay, these people obviously had been doing things the right way. The building permits were there. Nobody could find them. And so Multnomah County then went to the position that they would have to start all over with all of their permits and everything. And it would take probably 2.5 years to
Right.
get to this point,
The
which is
painful thing-
ridiculous.
There's so many terrible things about this situation. One, not only was it in Multnomah County, but you could have honestly picked up a rock and thrown it into Columbia County.
Yes.
I mean, it was on the border. And unfortunately, it was on the side of the border that
Yeah.
is the most bureaucratically red tape terrible, right?
we
Columbia
didn't
County-
talk to the same person twice ever.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
judgments we got from that bureaucracy were just as convoluted. You can't, you hear about people having issues with planning and zoning and things like this. This was off the charts.
Right.
And
So-
there was also a time frame because of insurance. Things had to be begun by a certain date, which was 1 year after the fire, to start moving things along. And that wasn't going to happen in Multnomah County.
Right. So the purpose of this bill, it makes it so that if you had a structure, you've been paying taxes on the structure, the county knows about the structure, and it burns down, that it is no longer a land use issue,
Right.
but an administrative issue that should be able to be handled within a month or so. Just
Yeah.
you're going to go pay your fees, you pay your permits, and then you can go ahead and go on. So it is assumed that if you have been paying property taxes and the county knows about this thing, that it was permitted, whether they can find the permit or not, right?
Right. And you know what? We have all taken all of our excess paperwork and put it on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
But this predated what they had put on the computer. And so it would meant that people were having to go through stacks of papers to find this, and they couldn't find it.
Right. So no, this situation is just one giant tragedy after another. There's got to be a number of people. You think of it went through the wildfires and other places where people had to deal with this same situation, but they didn't. Nobody knew about it because it wasn't attached to such incredible tragedy. So this bill, like I said, at 3 p.m. SB 1561. I am just going to look
Yes.
at it really quick here. SB 1561. Where did you go? So it is. I thought I had it up. 1561 is going to be in. When you think I'd be ready for this. The Senate Committee on Housing and Development. You can go to olis.oregonlegislature.gov, and you can either, when you go down towards the bottom under Measure History, you can read all about it if you'd like some information, additional information. You'll see either register to testify or submit testimony. If you want to just send written testimony saying this bill is good, you should support it.
This is good. Yes.
A couple sentences is fine. I mean, that will register as in favor. You can do more of course, as well. Or you can register to testify if you want to either testify in person, which you certainly can do, or you can testify via phone, or you can testify via Microsoft Teams. So lots of different ways you can testify without actually having to go to Salem.
Right.
But this is a short session. Things move very fast. So already, not only do we have a hearing scheduled in the Senate committee, we have a vote scheduled already on the 12th. So we have a very limited amount of time to get your information in there and support. We hope you support this bill, SB 1561.
Pick it up, read it. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
And you can watch the public hearings.
Yes.
If you can't watch it in person, you can watch recordings of the public hearings. So very transparent on how this goes. Oregon has some definite problems in terms of governance, but the transparency of the legislative process, I think we're pretty darn good at. Okay, moving on. Unless you have anything else to say about that one, Senator.
No, I don't. I think we've covered that one adequately.
Okay. This one, I think this one's pretty simple, but important. SB 1504, SB 1504. This is another one that you brought last year, but we just ran out of time. This would allow for epinephrine in schools to be administered in ways other than injection.
Right.
Tell us how this one came about.
This one came about from a student in the school district who said, we have other ways that we can administer this rather than having to have a shot. And wouldn't it be nice if people could take care of themselves? And so I have partnered with President Wagner on this bill to pass it around. The person who brought it forward, even though they brought it to me, they brought it to him also. They are in his district. And it would alleviate some frustration and anxiety when people have definite allergic reactions.
Right.
And science improves things every day. This is another one of those that we need to come to the point where we look at maybe what we did in the past wasn't adequate for the future or for today.
Right. What the law actually says is that students can administer that, or a professional can administer this via injection.
Right.
It actually gives no provision
right
to be administered any other way in schools. So it is actually against the law to administer epinephrine in any other way but EpiPen or I think vial. But that student brought to our attention that most recently science has created a nasal spray,
a different vehicle. Yes.
Yeah. So this would allow for that. I got to say, I can't remember the young lady's name, but I have gotten written proposals that were less coherent from attorneys and lobbyists that I got from this high school student when we looked at this.
It was very
so
well
impressive.
done.
She had thought it through. She had done her research. She had drafted things. It was so impressive. So,
that's another thing is looking at the unintended consequences at the legislation that we pass.
Right. That's always a good thing to do. I mean, I don't think anybody was thinking, well, gosh, if we just say that this can be
administered in schools. Yes.
Yeah, that's what they were thinking. We want to make sure that the kids can actually have their EpiPens, right?
Right.
But they didn't think, well, gosh, maybe science is going to come up with a nasal spray or a pill or some other way. That's why it's so important to be careful about legislation and why sessions like this are so dangerous.
Exactly.
When you
and that's another discussion we've had on the elevator is, what are we missing by pushing some of these things forward so rapidly?
Right. Well, this one is up also for hearing. This was up on Monday, the 9th at 3 p.m. in the Senate Committee on Healthcare. This is actually a public hearing scheduled, but they have also said they may vote the same day. So
I'm hoping they do.
Technically, you have 48 hours from the time that a hearing begins to submit written testimony.
Right.
Yeah. In this case, if you wait more than a couple hours past the time of the committee, you may be too late. So do go ahead and go on and search SB 1504 on OLIS, olis.oregonlegislature.gov.
I have not looked yet to see what kind of testimony is submitted, because I'm sure there is some already.
Not yet.
And
that's the difficulty about these short sessions. Things get scheduled so fast.
Right.
Some
the awareness. Yeah.
Right. At the same time, at the exact same time, Monday the 9th at 3 p.m., perhaps a more controversial bill will be heard on the House side, which you are also a chief sponsor on, HB 4148. This is talking
Yeah.
about transient lodging tax revenues.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one, Senator. Where did it come from? What's the plan?
Well, originally I had a bill last session to just look at expanding the usage of transient lodging tax. People come to our state, they stay and play and pay a tax. And it varies from place to place, whether it's a county tax, a city, a municipality that levies a tax, whether it's a state tax, but it's used to deal with the tourism industry. And what it was, or what it is a 70-30 split of that money. 70% of that money that is paid by people who come into our state, not necessarily people who live in our state unless they go stay in a motel somewhere, is used to encourage tourism. 30% can be used for activities, especially that are so important to being able to sustain the infrastructure in the area that the tourists are visiting.
Right.
We came across a really interesting study this year, thanks to Senator Boardman from Bend from the OSU Sustainable Tourism Lab. And it's 3 years of really looking at socially optimal tourist tax framework and how it impacts our society. And there was one graph in there that just really struck home to me as to why we need to change the allocation of how we spend that money. And this graph, let me see. I don't know if you can see it here.
No,
you can't see it.
No.
Well, it talks about tourism output and the receipts that tourism brings in, and it skyrockets.
Right.
But you talk about the community carrying capacity, what the community can sustain. And that is a flat line because we don't have the money to be able to put into sustaining the resources that the tourists are all coming to enjoy. And it's the same way with the environmental carrying capacity. Also a straight line. And so when we look at tourism and we look at the amount of money that we need to be able to sustain our emergency services, especially our law enforcement that's related to issues that come into our area with the tourists, we have to look at that allocation being redistributed. And we did it last time, and then we got up against the transportation bill and in the long session, and everything went to pieces there at the end. And this was one of the bills that was left in the dirt. And it was so close because it had passed the House and it was coming to the Senate. But, there were a lot of problems in the Senate at that time. And as a result, it didn't get to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think it didn't go anywhere necessarily, not because of the policy itself, but this is the sausage making of legislation. There was one senator who was mad at another senator, and so he killed everything.
Everything.
And screw you. I'm doing this to make you mad. Stick it in your eye. So that's why this bill died. A couple of things that we probably should point out.
There are two bills, and they are exactly the same.
Yeah, there's one
bill that is in the House, and there is my bill in the Senate, exactly the same. But it's a backup because our municipalities and our counties need this redistribution.
Right. So there's probably a few things that we should point out about this. Right now, 70% of those funds, as you noted, must be used for tourism promotion or tourism related facilities, which are defined and very narrow. 30% can be used for other things. Most, I would say, like in Tillamook County, I believe it's used for roads.
Yes.
But that's very limited.
Yes.
Now, technically, a county could come in and say, you know what? Our budget's cool. We don't need that 30% for anything else. We need more tourism. We're going to spend 100% of this money on tourism, right? What this does is it flips things so that us
40%.
for tourism promotion and related facilities, the rest can be used for anything else. But if a county or a city says we still want to use 100% on tourism promotion, you can do it. This is a local control bill. If you believe that it should be our cities and our counties that are making these decisions about how these dollars are spent because they know best,
yes,
you should support this bill.
Support this bill.
Other thing, unless you are going to a hotel in a city in which you live, you are not going to pay this tax.
Right, you are not.
This tax is a hotel tax, essentially, right? If you live in Tillamook and you go stay a night in Bend, you are going to pay that tax, and that money is going to go to Bend, and extra dollars that are there, if the Bend decides they need it, could go towards law enforcement because you're there. It could go towards road
facilities. Yes, right. And we have to look at. There are areas in our state that are high tourist traffic areas that have amassed a great deal of money that they can't spend because of that allocation. And Seaside comes to mind. And I don't know exactly what the figure is right now, but at one point in time, they had $12 million, but they had nowhere to spend it. Right. And then we look at other areas that, we had the Goonies come in, the celebration, and the thousands of people that came to Astoria. And as a result, sometimes law enforcement is impacted by this surge of people.
Right.
And, at times, the census at the jail can be up 30%, and none of those 30% have a zip code that is in Clatsop County. Right. We have Memorial Day here in Tillamook last year, and it was relayed to me that in those 3 days, we had 30,000 people, day trippers mostly, visit the cheese factory. That's a huge influx. And then when they go home, we're left with picking up the pieces.
Right.
Or if the dog jumps off the cliff, then we have to bring a helicopter to be able to rescue the dog. And I would rescue the dog. Yes, I'm telling you that.
Well, Martin is happy to hear that.
Yeah, he's over there looking. Yes. But anyway, that costs our municipalities and our counties and our emergency services a lot of money.
So I think this is another rural urban thing as well. When the Goonies anniversary happened in Astoria here a year or so ago, it doubled the size of the city. Astoria is about 10,000 people. So they had double the size of the city over this weekend, right?
Yes.
Now, adding 10,000 people to the city of Portland for an event, what do? They may call the city of Hillsborough. They may call Multnomah County Sheriff and say, hey, we need to borrow some officers. Could you charge us and send them over for the weekend? And that's generally not too much of a problem. We can't do that.
We can't do that.
Because Clatsop County is already bare-boned. Seaside bare-boned. Warrenton is probably dealing with the overflow of Astoria. We can't
look at Pacific City. I mean, look at the people who come to the dunes. Yeah. Our fire department. I mean, that's a volunteer group in a sparsely populated area.
So if you're thinking you're in Portland, you're watching this, and you think, oh, it's 10,000. Just call your neighboring folks and have them send some people over. We can't because they're as strapped as we are.
Yes.
So this really is a common sense. It's not going to raise taxes on locals or anything like that. I've heard that, which I
Yes.
can't.
And the other thing that I really need to relate to people is, people are saying to me, oh, you really need to, be bipartisan on a lot of these bills.
Well, here we go.
This is a bipartisan bill.
Yeah.
A truly bipartisan bill.
I would say I always get a kick out of that because you are always bipartisan in all your bills because that's the only way you can get a bill passed.
That's it. Yes.
If you're not bipartisan, your bills don't go anywhere. If you want to talk about partisan bills, it's the other side that does it because they're the only ones who can. So anybody who's doing that, you are either quite ignorant of the realities or you're not arguing in good faith, or both. Yes. Okay. So HB 4148 in the House Committee on Revenue, 3 p.m. on Monday the 9th. Same deal. Search HB 4148 on olis.oregonlegislature.gov. Go down to either register to testify if you want to do it live, or via virtual or phone, or click submit testimony if you want to send something in writing. Okay.
Yeah, all right. We're nearing time.
We are.
What we said. But we have to tell people what they have to start really paying attention to.
Yes. Yes. Two bills that are very, very important that we need to be watching. And there are others as well. But
there's a whole host of them. Guns, abortion, and all sorts of things. Yeah.
But we'll talk about those later.
Later.
SB 1599 was just introduced. SB 1599 would change the date of the referral election for the transportation massive increase, tax increase that was passed. Again, essentially partisan because Representative Javity voted out as a Republican, but then changed parties. And then was referred to the ballot by signature gatherers who turned in like 5 times as many signatures as they needed.
250,000.
It was on that signature. It had the date.
Yes.
On the petition, it had the date. It was going to be in the November election of this year, 2026. That
did not meet with favorable opinions from several people.
Yes, the Senate President and the House Speaker have introduced SB 1599, which would move that election to the primary election in May. And let's be 100% blunt about this. The Democrats know this is going to fail. They know it's going to fail spectacularly, and they know they're going to get blamed for it. And they know if it's on the same ballot as they are in a general election,
blowback.
There might be people who actually have to pay for their sins, and they're probably going to lose. And I'm sure Representative Javity being key among them. SB 1599 moves that up for purely political reasons. And I would say primaries, they tend to have far lower turnout.
Exactly.
Independents don't vote usually all that much because there's no partisan primaries for them.
No, there's no way for them. No.
Right.
Non-affiliated. No.
Yeah. So SB 1599, it was just introduced, is going to a special committee on this referendum.
Right. There has been a special committee that has been appointed that is bipartisan and is going to work on this. It
is bipartisan in that there are 6 members and 4 of them are Democrats.
Democrats, right.
So bipartisan kind of. So we don't have a hearing date for that. Hearing time, we will let you know as soon as we have it.
And several leaders have said this is purely a political move.
Yeah. So if you are, this is why people hate politics. Okay, so if you are frustrated with things not being bipartisan, this is the sort of thing you should be mad about. SB 1599. Okay.
And it's really it quite possibly could change the tenor of the whole session, especially in the Senate at this point in time.
Yeah. Do we really?
But
when-
people need to be paying attention to it, because if you haven't ever voted in a May primary, you need to get your act out there, and maybe you need to declare a party so that you can vote on this.
Well, you
And
can vote
those-
on it. You can vote on it even if I mean, you'll get a ballot.
You'll get a ballot,
This may be the only thing on it.
but it may be yes.
Yeah.
And you also have to pay attention to how the ballot is being worded, because that is another discussion that is going on currently.
Yeah.
It's one of those, you vote yes if you really mean no, and no if you really mean yes.
Yeah.
And so, that all has to be straightened out. So
We-
that's
and
clear.
we will inform people about that. But
Yeah.
SB 1599, keep an eye on that. We will keep you informed on it. But definitely a purely partisan thing. One
Okay,
more.
let's also talk about the kicker.
Yes, SJR 201. As that is usually you see SB or HB, I mean Senate bill or House bill. SJR means Senate Joint Resolution. This is the vehicle for referring constitutional amendments.
Right.
So Senator Przansky has introduced this, and it will steal half of your kicker.
Yeah,
That's
it will.
what it says. It says once the kicker
Once the
reaches 300 million, I'm sorry.
300 million.
Anything above that gets split. Half goes to taxpayers, back to you who paid it. The other half goes to more money for education and wildfire
And community colleges.
and community colleges. However, and that'll be a big selling point for everybody, right?
Yes, it will.
A simple majority of the legislature could totally redirect all that money.
Yes.
They could take the money that's going to education and stopping wildfires. Who's going to be against those two things, right? And they could take it to redirect it to trans studies in Zambia. I mean, they could do that. I mean, with
Yes.
a simple majority vote. So that is taking a massive amount of your kicker dollars, which is the only thing stopping massive, even larger government or state government growth to even a larger amount, and taking half of it away.
So pay attention to that, and we'll get you more information on that.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk about it
we
more.
have more data coming out on that, and the revenue forecast, because they've been doing more research on what the revenue forecast will actually mean. That
Mhm.
came out on Wednesday, and how we will be able to spend or not spend, and how it's going to impact the next biennium.
Right. So that is SJR 201. That is the kicker theft. SJR 201 kicker theft.
Go read it.
Yeah, it's not
No,
difficult. It's very clear.
right.
Senator, we just covered a lot of ground, and
Yes, we did.
for those folks who like a nice, slow, leisurely conversation between us, those aren't going to happen this month.
Nope, they aren't.
There's going to be fast and furious with calls to action. Every one of these, we want to have a call to action for you folks who are
Right.
listening.
And the schedule of being on the floor is also going to be very fluid,
yes,
because we have, scheduled floor times, we have scheduled committee times, we have scheduled caucus times,
Mhm.
but things are going to be changing.
So if that's why I love written testimony. If you want, if something's if you
Yeah.
got one bill that's really, 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 really important to you, and you want to testify either in person or virtually or via phone, by all means, go for it. But understand things could change. Don't blow up your own personal schedule for it. But written testimony can always be taken up to
Yes.
48 hours after the start of the hearing. You can put that in anytime from when a hearing is scheduled, right?
Right.
So once that hearing has been scheduled in a bill, go on and make your opinion known. Senator, anything else?
No, except that, we're going to also be talking, I'm sure, about constituent issues that we have been working on, whether it's crabs or unemployment.
Got my crab
or-
race sweatshirt on. Oh, your rolling crab race.
Yeah, I like that one too.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yes. Well, we have many things to talk about. Some of the constituent things may have to be March because there's so much legislation going on. But if there is stuff that
Yes.
has to do with stuff that's going on in session, we'll
Yes.
get that to you. I would also ask everybody during the legislative session, if you have something to reach out to the office about that can wait for a month, please do. It's more apt to not get lost.
Right. And, you know, we have a couple of issues right now, constituent issues, that we're having to do a lot of research on. You know, it may concern, you know, conservatorships and people being cared for, and we're working on those things. So I want you to know that even though this is taking up our whole time, we are also working on constituent issues.
Well, yeah, and anytime if you have things that really are time sensitive, by all means, let us know. We'll do everything we possibly can. But if you got just an idea that you've been thinking about that you'd like to talk to us about, that can wait until March 15th.
March. Yeah.
Please reach out. You'll have our full undivided attention at that point. So, all right, Senator.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice weekend.
You too, everyone. We do these every week during session, so we will catch you next week.
Yes.
Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.